Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Bookbind. My name is phoenixrokni. I am the author of The Fall of Magic, which is book 1 in the Masterscore series. Today, we're focusing on Kayris, once a druid of the forest, who now serves alongside Armate at the Tower of Avestan. He is a character that embodies both memory and change, torn between the wild roots of his druidic past and a divine calling that is his present. So Kayris is a bit mysterious, and there's a lot that people won't really learn about him in book 1, not in this part of the greater story. His last name isn't revealed. The fact that he let go of that as a part of his identity and other aspects regarding his place among his people is a rather large detail that is subtle in book 1. So there's a point in the story where Volier points out that Kayris doesn't have his horns and kind of mentions that they're missing, and Kayris explains that he shaved his horns down. So when we understand that he was once part of the Druids of the Elderwood and that one's horns are important, it will become clear that he made a big sacrifice to walk the path he's now on. What really makes him unique is that he becomes a safekeeper of a secret, a divine prophecy that is passed down for him to keep safe. And there's knowledge and information that is granted to him that makes him an extremely important character in the future of this particular series. So I kind of mentioned something there. He was a druid of the Elderwood. I also just gave away a detail not in book 1, which is that is the order of the Nehrin druids who rose up during the War of Strife and Sorrow to become protectors of the wood, to safeguard the creatures and the place, that realm that the gods created for beasts of the wild. The 8th Quayland Forest is also the main home and hub for the Nehrin people. So in future books, we get to learn more about racial orders. We learn a lot more about Kayris and his origins as well. I do keep a lot of things brief with the first novel. A lot of the world building is going to deepen much further in the second novel because we get to explore the world building through the eyes of characters who become more integral to the story and to the series as a whole. So readers don't get to know exactly why Kayris chose to serve at Avestan. But what we do know is that he serves alongside Armate. His role in book 1 is more of a messenger role. So he comes off seeming like a servant to Armate. That's something he also clarifies, that he serves at Avestan with Armate. An important detail to keep in mind when we think about the legacy that's passed on to him, the information that is his to safeguard and to protect as history progresses. The way that his past as a druid shapes his perspectives on the struggles unfolding in this series, it will be one that gives certain insight into the nature of things, something that will become very important in the future. That guardian role of safekeeping historical records and prophecies, keeper of knowledge that he becomes and is, it's a massive importance and something we'll come to understand in great detail later. So there's a symbolic contrast for Kayris in his past, which would be things relating to the forest, things like roots, tradition, memory, and his calling to the light, this path he's now on, the illuminated path, and other things like knowledge and safeguarding history. Now, how Kayris' journey reflects a broader theme of leaving one's life behind. So that theme of Kayris and his journey to leave one's life behind in service of a greater purpose is something we come to understand and realize is a very large theme for a lot of various people across the world that are going to be a part of this story. And that's something that spans across lifetimes. I do want to say that for those people who are curious what Kayris' role will represent in the greater Masterscore series, you're going to get to see something I want to say I believe will have a very strong impact on people who loved him as a character in book 1 once we get to the end of book 2. So we talked about how Kayris removed his horns, and he did so as a symbol of sacrifice when he chose to aid the Tower of Avestan. That sacrifice was a way of honoring and letting go of his past and sort of like reshaping himself for something different that he's going to be in this new role for the future. I wanted him to be a quirky, lighthearted, fun little guy that brought a little bit of a child youthfulness to the story. That is something very much central to the Nehrin people. They're often are referred to as the children of the wood. And as the bestial race, they do have, as you learn, a very strong tie to nature and the creatures. And I thought one of the most beautiful things was how you got to see Kayris greet Angor and Siam. And I was hoping that people would take away that there was something unspoken between him and the animals, like almost like a quiet dialogue, similar to how I referenced Valathos and his phoenix. And in that video, when I talked about Valathos and his phoenix, Olinar, I explained how important the creatures of the world are and how big of a part they play in the story. And that was our first glimpse into the Nehrins having a unique way to communicate with animals in a way no other race can. And, you know, the truth is that there was a conversation that was actually had between the cats and Kayris, something he understood as clear as dialogue when there wasn't any. And that was understanding just how much they loved Voliere, how much they cared about him, how important he was to them, and how deep their connection and bond with him was, that they were later willing to sacrifice something very great in order to protect him. Now, there's something big that Kayris is about to be a part of, something that will keep him tied to the world long after he should have moved on. There's a huge part he'll have to play, and it's a big reason I ended the epilogue with him and Valathos having some discussions that they did. If you paid attention to what Kayris said at the very end, something probably gave you cause to be curious or have concern about some of the things that the prophecy outlines and possibly how his role in all of that is going to be playing out. Sometimes I'm known to give away things when I get passionate and talk about these stories. And though I may or may not do that sometimes, keep in mind, those things won't take away a lot from the stories. Now, in closing, Kayris is a fun figure, one who bridges the past and the present, rooted in the old ways, yet guided by the light of Avestan. So what did you think of Kayris' role in the story? I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments or on Discord. Speaking of Discord, we have a growing community. We've reached over 100 here recently, so really, really excited about that. I'd love to invite you to be a part of our Discord community. Slowly growing. I'm very proud to have all of the people who have joined that are currently there. In the next episode of Behind the Bookbind, I aim to discuss Ortos Vatreus officially in detail. So I'm looking forward to doing that with you all. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves. May the light guide you. I'll see you soon.